What's up?
Um, Thursday, the 9th of September, 10 a.m. for all of us out here on the East Coast. Today's a good one. Today's a good one, DJ. Sales Chatter with DJ and Dan. I love that name too. We're gonna
I
have to
do,
come
I
up with a
do.
logo to start these sessions with a little logo sting and stuff.
I
Um,
like it.
you know, presentations. And I know you and I were having a quick chatter offline there for a couple of minutes. Um, but I think presentations, especially now that things are starting to open up and we're going back to in person, for me, they were such a critical part of my business. Just the interactiveness. And even now online with like Zoom and GoToMeeting and all these other, Microsoft Teams and all these other platforms, Skype that we're using to do this kind of stuff that you and I are doing.
Yes, sir.
When we craft, like when we create a well crafted presentation, and today for all y'all, we're going to go over a couple of key metrics that need to be in the presentation. And I'm not talking this death by PowerPoint kind of scenario because, um, hey, listen, I guess with everything, right? It has ebbs and flows, right? So when PowerPoint first came out and the whole idea of PowerPoint, it was like, oh my God, this is awesome, right? And it
Yeah.
went from, where we would have to put a piece of paper in the projector and it would come up on the screen, and now you can do it
Yes.
with a computer. So there's an evolution to it, right?
The
And
old school.
yeah, very old school. And that's like with
That's
VHSs,
that's
right?
the clear paper that you write on, and then
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and it was great because you can reuse it and you can like write. And I mean, it was almost like a whiteboard that was 15 feet tall when you would do it in school, right? But
Yep.
I guess so. Where where today, where we're looking to take today is to give you all the tools and strategy, in essence, the entire framework to create a killer presentation that converts. Because here's the thing. Typically, when you get to that presentation stage, right? If you're selling software, that presentation stage is usually the initial stage. So that's kind of, right after the investigative call. But in our industry, if we're delivering a presentation, we've set a meeting, there's been calls leading up to that. There's been an
Yep.
investigative call, maybe even a follow up call, maybe even a secondary. There's interest from both parties in order to invest the time. So, um, as DJ and I spoke before, I'm just going to kind of give you the framework, and then DJ and I'll kind of dissect it afterwards. We'll give you the 30,000 foot view, then we'll break it down to ground street level so y'all can use it and apply the strategies and tactics literally by the time we get off this call. So,
Perfect.
first and foremost, we have to understand that no presentation is the same. Okay. When we understand that, and the reason I say that is because this whole death by PowerPoint has always been from, I've done it up until I figured out these strategies where the company had a specific PowerPoint presentation, and you get very good at walking through the PowerPoint presentation. Now,
Oh
you
yeah.
might get very good at it because you've practiced it a million times. However, when you walk through it, there's always going to be pieces of the presentation that have zero relevance to this customer. And I'll give you a perfect example. I went to a
Nice.
meeting with a salesperson, way more time in the industry than I had. And we're sitting in the meeting, and for 20 minutes, I'm listening to this sales rep present to the prospects at this point equipment that they never needed,
Hmm.
stuff in their company that wasn't relevant to this person's business. And I literally sat at the back of the room because I was an observer here. And I'm sitting and I'm watching everybody. And it took literally a minute and a half for all of them to disconnect. And you can always tell when somebody's disconnected. I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah.
no ifs, ands, or buts. You can totally tell. And I let it, I let it, I shouldn't really say that. It's not accurate. It went on for another, like, literally 17 and a half minutes of
Holy
them
cow.
being disconnected. And I finally stopped and I said, you know what? Why don't we focus on the part of the presentation that is specifically directed towards this prospect? And it was 10 slides away before we got in. So think about this for a second. If you're averaging like a slide every 30 seconds, you are literally like 35, 40 slides in before you get to any relevance of that specific prospect. That's a perfect way to lose everyone in the group. And when we lose everyone in the group, The decision makers are no longer engaged. And that's what presentations are all about. Presentations should be the tool you use to push everybody over that edge and get everybody to say, yeah, this is exactly what we need. So understanding the first and foremost, the main first pillar of the framework of any presentation is it has to represent the needs, goals, desires, ambitions, mandates of the customer. Everything in that
Now,
presentation, go for it.
I was just gonna say, sorry to interject, but or cut you off there, but now where just to kind of, I guess, get these guys following the process. So you're saying the first part is the main points that are geared specifically toward that customer. Now, when and I know the answer, but I'm trying to kind of
Go for it,
lead
man.
these
Yeah.
guys to think of it. But when are you finding out, or when should they already know what they should be presenting to the customer or answering those questions that you're
Well,
talking about?
that's all done through your first call, your second call, every single call leading up to the presentation, right?
Okay.
Like if I'm giving you a presentation, DJ, I've called you, we've had a cold call, investigative call, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
There's an interest because now you're going to physically schedule and invest time with me, so there's an interest. So by this point, by the time if I deliver a presentation to you, I know your mandates, your goals, your desires. What are some of the challenges now? How you're operating right now? What do you like about what's happening in your business right now? What would you like to change? Like, and maybe not every single piece of that, but I understand enough because if I'm going to utilize, whether it be on Zoom like this, or whatever platform you will online, or physically go to your office, the ROI's got to be there for me. And
Yes.
I don't, like I'm very customer focused in saying that, we need to serve the customer. But in the end, I need to serve myself as well because this is what I do to put food on the table for my family. So that
Right.
has to be at the top of my mind as well, is if I'm going to invest time, energy, and effort, I want some money out of this. And let's call a spade a spade. I mean, yes, absolutely. In sales, should our main focus be customer goal achievement? 100%. But
Of course.
I'm not going to help a customer achieve a goal by losing $100 every load I move for them
Yeah.
just to help them achieve it, because it's not a mutual goal attainment, right? So the presentation specifically directed towards what you do, what benefits, what strategies, what tactics, timelines for them to achieve their goals. If that is literally the nucleus of your presentation, then you've got everybody in the room. Because think about it. When do we get engaged, DJ? We get engaged when we hear things that are in line with what we need to do to get our results, right? Salespeople that are
Yeah.
watching this and listening to this, if they want better results in presentations, they're listening attentively. If a
That's right.
salesperson is listening to this same conversation and has the mentality of I'm good, I'm the best presenter on the planet, they're never going to get the same thing out of it. Make sense? So for
Oh yeah.
us as sales reps, and if we want this presentation to go off without a hit, we eliminate everything. Like I'm working with a company right now, and I've done it with many companies where we're developing this quote unquote brochure, right? And the brochure is not a brochure anymore. It is literally 20 different PDF pages. And when we're selling to a prospect, I mean, and this goes way back right to the beginning. This isn't even just presentations. This is everything. When I'm selling to a prospect, for my own company, I've got about almost 33 pages of different marketing material, because that's in
Mm,
essence what a brochure is. It's marketing material.
exactly.
And I'll have a conversation with you, DJ, and then you might get 2 pages. The guy down the road might get 5 pages. One person down the road might get 1 page. One person might get 20 pages, because it'll all be dependent on our conversation, what we had, what your goals, your mandates, your desires, the things that trigger you as a human, as a person, right? So if it was, hey Dan, part of what I'm looking for is I'm looking for an overall logistics solution. I mean, I want reporting, I want this, I want that, because I'm spending so much time digging up reports. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a page on from my brochure, in quotes, that says, you know what, on average, we save our customers 38% time because we do these reports and we submit them here and we do this. These reports come with this, and this. None of that. We spend an hour on the front end to customize the report for the customer on the back end. And in turn, our customers have saved close to 3 to 4 hours a week
Wow.
of time. Now, if reports were one of your challenges because your systems aren't talking to each other and my systems do, that page is going to mean a hell of a lot more to you than a service map,
Yep.
because you don't care about the service map. You don't care about transit times. But yet, so many salespeople are like, well, I'm going to put the service map in. Well, did you ever talk about transit times? Did you ever talk about having problems in certain areas or anything like that? Or was it more like, I need somebody that stands beside me, like a vice president of the United States to the president, right? Like, if that's the conversation, your service map is completely irrelevant to the next level growth for you and your customer. Now, might it be relevant down the line? For sure. But then you pull that ace out in the hole down the line. If we had a conversation all about capacity, on time performance, all this kind of stuff, well, I'm going to put in a graph, part of my brochure, about capacity and what we've been able to do. Not only that, I'm going to add reference letters into my presentation or into my brochure I'm sending you that talk about how when nobody has capacity, I have capacity from customers, right? Like, it's all, like, everything. If we really, let's say this, because I know I feel like I'm babbling, but I hope I'm not. So here's the reality of it: every need, desire, challenge, opportunity turns into your presentation. Everything else is useless. Don't use it, because it will not serve you at the highest levels. It will not serve your customers. If you can engage your customer or your prospect at this point, even from second one to the end, you've closed the deal. Why take an hour and a half to do that when you can take 20 minutes to do it? Make sense? Like,
Man.
again, we go back to our end result, or our main thing, which is time. Like, DJ, would you want to spend 10 weeks closing a customer you can close in 2? Makes no
Mhm.
sense.
Not at all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, time is, and again, guys, just to kind of give Dan a little break, but also to kind of, I guess, put into easier terms of what he's really trying to say is it's all the. I've seen the dog. I never seen the dog.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes up, he goes and jumps on the windmill to look for
Right,
people. Enough.
right.
Okay.
He sees somebody.
Amazon delivery just happened here, guys. Sorry.
But no, no worries. But so basically, in the simple terms, like I was saying, with what Dan is basically trying to say is, so you want to compile your presentation to have all the pieces, parts, and everything good about what you have to offer your customers, but you want to fine tune it by just doing the investigating in first initial consultations till you set up that long conversation because you see that both sides again, guys, not Dan mentioned this, and I think we even said it, not all money is good money, and that's the same thing. Like he mentioned, yes, if he's losing $100 off of every load, is that customer benefiting? Are they achieving their goal? Yes, but is he? No. Can he stay in business long or to keep doing that? No, not at all. So it has to work both ways, and that's where finding uh, those answers, asking those questions, and then fine tuning your presentation. I know anybody who came from is in here now, and came from the in-home sales background like myself. Your head is probably exploding. The reason being, you're probably driven, like I was. That you're almost trained like a robot. You have, I'll never forget the first place I ever worked. I'll say their name, Universal Windows Direct. They're a huge company selling Windows, but they teach you a very old school presentation, and there's key words that you have to say in between, and not until you remember those, almost like a robot. But then you're just beating people up, and that's not sales, guys. You're just overload of information. Sales is just like making friends is a sale. me and Dan doing what we're doing now, we made a sale to each other, and our commission is the information that we're feeding back. There's a commission. Grant Cardone says it all the time. Talks about it with his wife and how that was his commission for dating, was getting his wife. Same thing. We're just trying to figure out what is making that customer tick or what their problems are. Because in the end, like Dan said, we're problem solvers. We're just trying to solve other people's problems, and if we can fix their problems, whatever they have, maybe it is like he said, time, and the amount of time, or having trucks when there aren't trucks available because of the network Dan has or I have. Those things we don't know until we ask the questions, and the client tells us that's their problems, and that's what he's talking about. Pulling out. We don't need to talk about these things if it's not important to them. In-home sales, we had to talk about everything. We had it seemed torture, and I would sit there and watch people like Dan was talking about in the meeting with a group of people, and you're going side by side by side, and you could see if they're talking on something that somebody is not interested in, and you see it. If you are
Mhm.
doing
Well, and
sales,
it's even tougher, TJ, because you're doing the investigative while you're trying to sell. Right? So
yes,
you're kind
yes,
of combining all these worlds when you're doing it at home, because all you do is ding dong, you let in, and you're like, okay, it's go time, it's
showtime.
game time. You have no idea, and not only that, you're dealing like usually husband, wife, spouse kind of thing, and one is doing this and one's doing this, and you're trying to get them both kind of going like Stevie Wonder and going, yeah,
That's
okay,
right.
let's get it done,
That's
and
right.
yeah, it's even tougher, right? It's even tougher. I mean, the reality is the presentation in logistics and transportation, you should have all this information. Like if you don't have this information before the presentation, don't deliver the presentation. Because the thing is, if this is the nucleus of what the customer is looking to achieve, and you're talking here, and you're talking here, and you're talking here, and you're talking here, you're missing the fact, the point. And the big thing becomes, if you don't deliver the right message to the right person, you never move forward. And that right message is in every
Gosh, yes,
interaction. It's not just the sales call. It's the initial sales call. It's a second sales call. It's in every email. It's in every correspondence. It's in every letter. It's in every supporting document that you send. All of that is all that. The main thing for all of that is the big deliverable, the right message to the right person. And in the end, you can break down any presentation to the simplistic. You can reduce the amount of time you present by 50, 60, 75% if you focus on the core message delivered to the right person.
yes,
That's all it is. That's the nucleus of sales.
yeah.
The
Uh,
faster we deliver it, if you've ever had a customer where things have just clicked and it's like all of a sudden, 3 phone calls, you're like, damn, I just got a customer, and other ones are taking so long to get. It's because you're not delivering that right message. It really is. That's the nucleus of all disconnect. When somebody's sharing a message with you that you're in tune with, that you say to yourself, I want to learn more, I want to know more about this topic, it's like a book. You pick up a book, in the first 10 minutes of reading, you might be like, well, this book is pretty boring. You'll never go back to it. But if the book engages you because it's in tune, and even if it's just hearing a story, like a movie. We like movies because it's like it's in tune with
yes,
what we are looking for. This is all it is it's attention, right? Gary Vee says it best. It's ATTN. Where the attention is. And
yeah.
if you speak and share and strategize only about things that capture people's attention, you win. It's just like these lives. Every time we go live, we come back with a different topic.
Mm,
And so what it's doing is people that are watched the first live last, or 3 Thursdays ago, were like, yeah, cold calling, that's what I need to know about. I don't need to know about presentations. They're not here today.
mm,
You're here because it's cold calling. You've watched 20 minutes of this session because or because it's presentations. You've watched 20 minutes of this session because you want to learn about presentations and get better at presentations. Same thing in business. A does not equal A for the next customer. It might be a Z. So if you're always talking about A and this customer's focus is Z, your disconnect is instant. This is the
Yeah.
same thing on sales calls, on cold calls. If we can't connect and engage the prospect immediately, we've lost. Like, you look at any sales page for any product or service, that headline and subheadline is designed to engage their ideal customers.
Yep.
So why are we as salespeople not paying attention to the concrete evidence where we engage at this level, the person that is on this level, which is your ideal client profile, okay, will engage. When they don't engage, they're not your ideal client. It's not good money,
Yep.
right? So, you know, flipping that back to a presentation, if this is what engages that prospect, deliver, deliver, deliver. Every angle
Yes.
you come
Yes.
from, you're delivering. There's two choices. And if you go like this, you have two choices: one that gets you closer to your goal, or one that gets you further away. Those are your two choices. In your presentation, make the choice to deliver only information on your slides. Now, here's the caveat: on your slides, on the main presentation, that's engaging the customer, getting you closer to your goal. All that other jazz, fluff, crap, whatever you want to call it, can come out in the Q&A after.
Yep.
But if it comes out in the presentation, it gets you further away. If it comes out in the Q&A after, what have you done? You've now engaged your customer to start taking notes and asking questions inside the Q&A, right? That's a good
Yep.
thing, because then you can get into the, miscellaneous, well, what about your service map? Okay, well, that's a good question. So I did bring a service map. It wasn't relevant to the initial conversation, but since you asked, here it is. And you deliver one or two service maps and just let people pass it around the table. Don't give it to everyone. You let people pass it around the table. Think of these supplementary, I'm going to say supplementary pages, or one pages, one sheet, one notes, that will enhance the conversation of what typically comes next. And there might be something where y'all need to deliver 3 or 4 or 5 presentations. Like, if you want to deliver an ironclad presentation, create 10, 12, 15 slides, but each slide is its own story. And then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to take slide 1, 6, 8, 12, 14. That's your presentation. But each slide has its own story, its own nucleus of what you're trying to share. So if this customer has 5 different things that you're looking to accomplish, you choose those 5. That's your presentation. And you simply, whether it be on PowerPoint, you bring it in one line at a time, however you want to do it. I really don't care. You can do it on PDF and just slide through the PDF. And then
Yep.
you just share your stories, your hook story offer on each of those slides. And you leave it to 4 slides. And at the end, you're like, okay, Q&A. And you're gonna find people way more engaged. You're gonna lose less people big time, and you're gonna actually close more deals.
Oh yeah, absolutely, guys. In the end, the simplest way to really explain what Dan is breaking down, it's the roadmap. It's a roadmap. Whether
Mm-hmm.
you want to think of it as you're a tour guide, and you're showing somebody this city. I'm showing somebody Cleveland. I'm in Cleveland. So I'm showing somebody Cleveland. Well, if they're into sports, I'm going to show them the Brown Stadium. I'm going to show them the Progressive Field. I'm going to show them the Football Hall of Fame. I'm not going to take them to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even though that is a good spot. If they didn't talk about music, there's no reason to talk to them about
Mm-hmm.
music. And the way you find that out is the questions, and really just listening to your prospect, your client. Ask the right questions, know the right questions to ask, and you'll know, because you're the professional. You should know, if you're brand new to this, you're gonna figure out your niche. You're gonna figure out
Mm-hmm.
what lane, you, to literally what lane you want
Mm-hmm.
to be in, and then you're gonna fine tune that, and you're gonna figure out what helps through the process. But again, it's just a roadmap. That's all it
Mm-hmm.
is, to
Mm-hmm.
success. And you want to eliminate the extra stops. We don't need the
Mm-hmm.
extra stops. We just
No,
need just
no,
need
the,
the
the
system.
the most direct route. And just remember, anywhere you're going, like if you're driving from Florida up to Canada and you turn your steering wheel a half inch, you're going to end up nowhere near your destination. And the same thing in your
Man,
presentation. If your
that,
destination is X and you veer off of that focus, you're going to end nowhere near X, because once you veer off, then the questions start coming, and then that veers off even more and more and more. And then you got to, like the space shuttle, you got to come back around the moon and slingshot around the moon in order to get back to your original destination, taking way more time that's needed. Just reverse thrust, get back on track, and go.
Yes, yes, yes. I will tell you too. Just talking about this, you kind of made me think of something, uh, guys. We I think we try to think of what our golden customer is, or we just hear, oh, they have this many truckloads, and I feel like some guys on the other side might toy with new brokers. So, oh yeah, I have tons of trucks. I'm doing 50 loads out of here every day, and it I think all that we think of is that, and we get so locked on that we don't
Mm-hmm.
realize if there's not anything that is really clicking between us and that client in those first conversations. There's no reason to beat a dead horse. There's a lot of clients out there, like Dan had mentioned. It's you're going to find, and if you are doing this correctly and really following Dan's steps and what he's talking about, your customers are going to find you because of those initial key points that are going to draw them to you, and you'll have a good. It's like making that friend, like me and Dan clicking from the start. We clicked right away. We didn't. This wasn't forced on anything, but it's just the same thing's going to happen with your clients, guys. You're gonna feel that almost like a friendship, like your friends, or you hear a lot of people say, hey, I think actually, now thinking about it, I think you mentioned this on one of the first or our podcast. It's like we've been talking forever.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you have that happen, there's something there. That's
Mm-hmm.
You'll find that. Just keep
Yep.
looking for it. You'll find it. Those are your customers. Those are your people.